Hi, I'm David Scranton from the Income Generation, and thanks for clicking this video. Because today we're trying to answer the question, when should I retire? And in addition to that, the corollary to that is, how do I know if I can retire, when I'm ready to retire? And the answer will be different for everyone. But because it's such a big topic today, we're bringing in a heavyweight from the financial service industry, and that's James Locke Jr., co-owner of Locke Associates, and I'm going to say that slow on purpose, located in Delaware. James, thanks so much for being here with us. Always my pleasure.
Hey, David. Glad to be here and glad to be on the show again. Good to see you.
I always have to say Locke Associates slow, because when I say it fast, it sounds like Polak Associates. And of course, I'm 3/4 Polish, so people sometimes think that's what I'm saying, so I've got to be careful. So you deal with this as I do day in and day out, and I've interviewed some others, and I want to get your take on this. When people come to you and say, can I retire, or trying to figure out if they're ready to retire, how do you coach them through making that decision or knowing whether or not they even can retire right now?
Yeah, a lot of times people can retire sooner than they think, but they're always just nervous about it. The first thing to do is to sit down and take a hard look at your situation and know, hey, am I ready to retire mentally? And do I think I have enough assets to do that?
Okay, so let's talk about the mental part first, right? That's so many advisors overlook that. And what I really appreciate and respect about you is you take a common sense approach to financial planning and investment planning. So how does one know emotionally when they're ready? How do you talk people through that if they're questioning it?
Yeah, a lot of times it's understanding, hey, are you done working? And if you are done working, we can take that next step to look at our assets and say, how do we replace that paycheck that you used to get every 2 weeks with a paycheck from your investments that you've saved up? And how do we do that in the right way? Because Dave, there's a right way and a wrong way to pull assets from retirement. And so taking that first mental step together is saying, yes, I'm ready to do this. Now let's put a plan in place.
Okay, so it's a little bit emotional. Am I okay now to see maybe my investment accounts not grow anymore or the growth slow down? I get that. But also there's the financial aspect, right? Because you got to tell them, are they ready financially in order to do that? So how, again, I know how I do it, and people hear from me all the time, but I want to hear how you talk people through that financial part of it, that second part of it.
Yeah. So the most important piece that you need to understand now that you've saved, right? We said, okay, we're committed to retiring. We're going to step into that world, and we understand we have these dreams and things we want to do. So how do we fund that? So we sit down and we look at our accounts and say, hey, we've built this pot up. We've built this pot up so big, but guess what? The pot doesn't matter so much anymore. It's what that pot can output.
Yeah.
And if we can figure out what that pot can output in a way that makes sense together, right, then you're going to know that you have more than enough income to fuel that retirement dream that you have. And you know what? Really getting people to dream, that's important.
It's interesting. We need to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to talk to you about that's part of the equation, but I also want to talk to you about how we might know how much we need, right? Sure, we want to know how much we're bringing in, but also how much we need or want to live the retirement lifestyle that we really desire. So far, yeah, you talked about, okay, taking income from investments and figuring out how much income you have coming in. And I know you want to couple that with your Social Security or any of our listeners or viewers that are blessed with the old-fashioned pensions that pay a monthly income for the rest of their lives. I get that. But then there's the other side is how much does someone need for income in retirement? So how do you coach people through that?
A lot of times, Dave, we take a top-down analysis. We look at, what you were spending or what you were earning versus what you were spending. And we kind of break it down. So we say, you know what? How much do you need in retirement to match what you were getting when you were collecting that paycheck? And a lot of times it's not as much as people think. So they can actually retire even earlier sometimes, which is a fun thing to find out. But as soon as you get to that point where you say, hey, I know that I'm retiring and I know that I'm going to need this income, it may not be as much as my paycheck. That's when it's important that you want to now know. You want to know that that income is going to be coming in from your retirement. And that's the focus of not crossing your fingers and toes and hoping that the stock market goes up, but by making that shift to the income world.
And I get it. So when you say top-down analysis, I know what you're talking about. You're saying instead of just going through your checkbook and figuring out all your expenses and adding them up bottom up, that doesn't work when you're doing budgeting because you always forget stuff, right? So if you take your current income that you have when you're working and go top down, essentially subtract the expenses that are going to go away in retirement. Heck, you might have some debts paid off. You might have FICA taxes going away because you only pay those when you work. You're not going to be contributing to a 401k when you retire. You may get down to a number that's 50, 70% of what you had when you're working. But then you have to add stuff back to it, right? Because isn't it true that we want to be careful too not to fall into that myth that, oh, I'm definitely going to need less money when I retire than I do today? Because for some, when they think about all the things they want to do in retirement, it's a bigger number, is it not? Yeah. And so I hear what you're saying. You're basically saying, look, this isn't a one size fits all. This isn't a cookie cutter thing. Some of you may need less money than you have when you're working, might be able to retire sooner on a lot less. Others may need more. But bottom line is you got to be ready for it. And James, that's why I could say unequivocally that, you know, if there's anyone listening here that is anywhere near the Wilmington, Delaware area, to reach out to you. Because, you know, a lot of advisors are real smart, and you're really smart too, but they get stuck in that left brain math side and they forget the people side, the human side of it. And retirement is such a big, scary decision for so many people that they really need both. And I don't know of many people that do it better than you. James, thanks again. It's my pleasure talking with you today. It's been fun as usual.
Dave, thanks for having me on. And like you said, I love helping people. I love to talk. It's an important step in the retirement process.
Yeah, it really is. It's building the picture, painting the picture. That's right. So thank you. And special thanks to you for clicking this video. If you enjoyed this interview, click the thumbs up button to give us a like. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interviews with retirement income specialists around the country.